think the Human Rights Commission is one of the most important things that Chestertown is doing, may do for quite some time. It is, it's historic, it's meaningful, and we can look at the history of commissions across the state to see how they operate and what happens, to understand how it can work here. I think Chestertown is sort of ready to be able to have a place for people to bring their concerns. So last fall, we had a business in the county that there were concerns raised that they were discriminating against Black people in the county. And to their credit, they and others similarly situated businesses reached out to Social Action Committee for Racial Justice for training. And this was pre-COVID, and then COVID hit, and so that's all been put on hold. But more importantly, there was no outlet. There was no place for anyone to go to be able to address this kind of concern. And the commission, while it's starting as a result of a real effort to address racism in the county and in the town, it really is going to be able to address all forms of discrimination. So that's an important piece of this, because right now, if you feel like you are being discriminated against because you are poor and someone doesn't want to rent to you, or you're Black and someone doesn't want to rent to you, or you're gay and someone doesn't want to rent to you, where do you go with that? Other than to, raise that concern with your family, your friends, and people talking about it amongst themselves. You have nowhere to take that, and the person who is being accused of that has no way of knowing that that's a problem and how to fix it. So what commissions do is they bring the people together to be able to talk about what happened and get people to share the circumstances. It can be an education for the business, allow them to get some training. There can be mediation that results from this so that both sides are able to address the concern together and come up with a resolution together. If those things aren't possible, if counseling and mediation and training are not possible, then it can be referred to an appropriate state level board, the commission or entity that resolves those kinds of concerns, like the Maryland Civil Rights Commission, which handles discrimination complaints around housing. But no one around here would know that. So this will serve as a place for people to go to say, this happened to me, I'm upset about it. They can then bring people together, education can occur, and people can change as a result, change their practices. And I think that what we can do is try to help people understand that the commission is not there to prosecute cases. It's not there as a vigilante group, as one of the councilmen said. It's not there to banish a business or boycott a business or undermine a business. It's there to educate, because most businesses don't want to reject people. They don't want people to feel unwelcomed. They may not be aware of some of the things that either they or their employees are doing that are causing people to feel that they are unwelcomed or being discriminated against. I have nothing to do with the commission. I'm not working on it. This is coming from the councilman, and he's being assisted by another attorney. I'm learning about how they're handling it in the same time everyone else is. I just happened 20 some odd years ago to have worked at the Maryland Civil Rights Commission for a year under a one-year fair housing contract to do fair housing testing on the shore. And this is when I was working at the Legal Aid Bureau. And we had a number of people who were trying to get apartments, get houses, who felt that they were being discriminated against, who had a place to come to and share that concern. We then tested various landlords up and down the shore, where we sent Black couples, white couples, mixed couples, Hispanic couples, so that they would be able to see how they would react to different families that were coming to rent. And there were a number of landlords that we went in and counseled and trained and provided them information about the Fair Housing Act and what it says. None of those went to court. None of those landlords ever were publicized as being racists or having a problem, because we handled that in a way that allowed them to change what they were doing, and then people were able to rent from them feeling like they were getting a fair shot at this house or this apartment. That's what you're looking for. And that's what the commission can accomplish just through education, counseling, mediation with the community. And if you look at the reports of Annapolis, Cumberland, those are the two that we keep pointing to, or those are the two that everyone keeps pointing to, they've been in existence for over 40 years. They put out an annual report that talks about how they handle cases, how many cases they get, how they're handled. The counties have them in different parts of the state, Frederick County, Montgomery County. And you can look at what they're doing, and most of the things that they're doing get resolved through mediation or education and training. So the discomfort that I think people are feeling is because they don't understand what the purpose is and how they will handle these cases. So if you think of it as a place to refer someone to resolve a problem by counseling, mediation, or education, and then if the problem can't be resolved that way, it would go to an entity that is responsible for responding to complaints. So there are a number of things that we need to look at. I think the murals were a great conversation starter. People talked about this in ways that we didn't imagine. We had no idea that it would create that kind of controversy, but the controversy has been important in lifting up the problems that we have. It's very hard now to say we don't have racists in Kent County and in Chestertown. We now know that. They were all over Facebook, so we are very aware that they're there. But it's not just the individual racism, right? That's one aspect of racism, individually mediated racism, the racist who is rude or mean or discriminatory in their actions and their words. That's one piece, and that has to be addressed. But there's also systemic racism that's built into our laws and into our regulations and into our policies, and those are things that we have to start to address as well. And so part of what we need to be doing is looking at some of the regulations. So the town is going to look at zoning, for instance. Well, to say that on its face it's not discriminatory is part of the problem, right? Nothing is racist on its face. It's in its result and in its impact. And so you have to look at whether or not a regulation is actually creating a problem for a protected class. LGBTQ community, the Black community, the Latino community. So is it discriminating in its impact? And that's a deeper conversation about laws and regulations that we need to have. We also need to look at policies and how they're being implemented. So our school system and how kids are being disciplined. I mean, we've looked at the data and it's hasn't been good. And so what we need to be talking about is what is creating the problem. If a rule on its face is not discriminatory, but in its application we find that more Black children are being impacted, then we need to think about how is this being implemented, what is the training, and what happens to address that after we see the data. We look at the achievement gaps, what's going on there. We need to look at how kids are being referred to the alternative program, how long they stay, all of the truancy program. You look at all of those things and Black children are disproportionately represented. And again, the policies are neutral on their face, but there's something about the implementation, there's something about the application that we need to look at and really seriously understand what's going on and how do we fix it.